have evolved into a professional scam hunter. It's a couple, like 6 months after I originally started online dating, but now I'm no longer looking for love on the site. I am looking to out scammers. Let the rhythm hit. One day, I looked at the profiles. I found five that really looked like this was going to be fun. And I started talking to all five of them at once. And knowing that at the 6 week mark is when they're going to probably ask me for money, I set the clock and I began my mission. So I'm not going to use all the names that I was given, but I will go on to say that at this point, I've now realized that a lot of people just give you a first name. These scammers, they're not giving you last name. Sometimes they are giving you full name, but a lot of times they're just like Henry. That's what the one gentleman's name was. We had the most incredible conversations because one of the pictures, he was the part of the Jewish religion. They wear something on their arm. And I looked it up at that time. I knew all the words correctly. But I told him, why do you want to talk to me? I'm a Muslim. And we had wonderful religion discussions. And he was apparently flying from Miami to New York all the time because his family lived there. And he would send me pictures that were really just provided proof that he was indeed like these pictures, that was a hardworking man, had children, all this stuff. And he played the part really, really well. But what confused me was I could not find any of these pictures online at all. And he went to the Super Bowl on a private jet, and he was sending me real time, like within the few hours of the Super Bowl pictures. It didn't make any sense. How was he finding them online? So when he finally confessed to me, and it was a really interesting moment because I knew for sure he was Nigerian, but he was messing with me. And I said, "You live in Nigeria?" And he answered no. And I thought, interesting, because I had heard his voice, all this stuff. Finally, he did finally confess that he was Nigerian, but he was getting his master's degree in Turkey. And then the other gentleman that I was talking to was pretending to be a Turkish man. And he, unfortunately, he didn't know any better because he's not a professional. He was using his given Nigerian name even on his profile. So even before clicking on him, it was an unfair advantage on my part that I'm familiar with Nigerian names. So when I clicked on them, I knew. But that individual pretended to be half Turkish and half Greek, and pretended to also have a child my age. And in his stories about what him and his kiddo were doing, they were always doing things together. And an 18-year-old child is not doing all those things, going ice skating with his father or doing all of that. It's just not happening. The kids don't want to hang out with their parents at that age. So, but also every picture that he sent of essentially a Turkish model with a female model next to him, they were just not the kind of pictures you would see. You would see an angry child standing next to the father. So the story with that person, they were in Turkey. Well, you went back to do something. I'm not sure what the story was, but the wallet was stolen. The wallet and passport were stolen. So I knew that the kids set it up right around the 6 week mark, that this was going to be my opportunity to now help them, and I would have to send money or whatever to get his passport. But this man is such a good man, and he's still one of my dear, dear friends. He did not go through with asking me for money. He just couldn't go through with it. But I had so much fun figuring out how to be able to then finally ask for him to confess. He was telling me every night, like, "No, I wish I could cook for you when I come back from Turkey." And I'm like, oh, what are you cooking? He's like, spaghetti. And he's like, what do you want me to cook for you? And I picked dolma, which is stuffed grape leaves, which it's a famous thing. Most people around the world know that. And then also the Turks and the Greeks fight over who actually developed it. So if it's someone who's half Turkish and half Greek, they for sure they know what a dolma is. So when he was not able to answer that he could make me dolma and he actually had no clue what it was, that's when I said, do you trust me? And do you like me? And the answer was yes. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to go anywhere, but I need you to confess you're Nigerian and I need you to tell me. And he called me and I absolutely made him laugh his head off because I told him, you're an idiot. You have to at least know what the famous Turkish and Greek food is before you pretend to be from that part of the world. So anyway, that confession was my favorite of the five. The other gentleman, I've forgotten his name altogether, but beautiful pictures, very cute man. And at this time, I finally learned because in the previous episode, when Chayton sent me a picture one time with that winter jacket that I was telling you about that he was wearing, and it really wasn't cold yet. I asked him to send me a picture with two fingers up in the picture. So it took him hours, but in the fake person's picture pile that he must have had from whatever account he stole the guy's image from, he did find a picture with two fingers up. And I started thinking about it, and I think a lot of men take pictures with two fingers up. So I started at that point with asking for three. So this gentleman that's super cute and whatever, he took a picture of the guy he found that was wearing had something like a hand up like this with five fingers up, and he cropped out two fingers, and he hand wrote a note and was holding it up with saying my name and everything. It was so bad. It was so stupid and bad. That's when I asked him for this confession, and he did. And then the last two, also I can't even remember all the details, but I got those two both to confess at the same time, admit that they're Nigerian. Well, the one guy basically kept saying, ma'am, just give me $50. I just need $50. So we ended up getting into a text argument where I said, listen, I've learned about Nigeria. I've learned about the economy. I know there's no jobs, but get any kind of job. Scrub floors if you have to. And he wrote me and said, you wouldn't tell your 18-year-old to scrub floors. And I said, absolutely I would. And said, no, you wouldn't. And I said, my daughter works and she scrubs floors every day at her job. So I just kept pressing this issue. But here in America, you do not think, like, you have the false impression that all of these women just have money to hand out. I'm working hard. I'm not giving you $50. I need the $50. So like a week later, he went and got a job, and he did a video call with me, and he said he was so proud of himself that he got a job, and he showed me that he was working at a construction site that was not nice. And so I really wanted to like teach these men what they're doing is wrong. But I also realized at that point when he actually got a job and all this, I figured that I can help and not rehabilitate them, but convince them that you can't just scam American women and be okay with it. And so anyway, that's where I am like very proud of myself. That was 5 for 5. I was absolutely right. And I don't want to keep doing this, but I will, as long as I have to, keep hunting these scammers.
Let the rhythm hit.